In this video, I'm going to help you take one of the first steps in getting your business online, and that is creating a domain name. Domain name is a URL like I have realwebsitehints.com, Google has google.com, Microsoft has microsoft.com. It's the place where people can easily find you online. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what a domain name is, how it works in very general basic terms that are easy to understand. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to use what I have found is the best tool for easily setting up your domain name. And not only does it allow you to set up your domain name, but it even allows you to, when you're first starting out, link that domain name to a social media profile, so like your Facebook page if you've already developed that, and even to set up your email address. You can have a professional email address at your own domain name and get all of this at a really inexpensive price. I'm Tim from realwebsitehints.com, and it's my mission on my website and on my YouTube channel to help you find the tools that make it easy for you to develop your online presence, to build a website, and to grow your business. I want to help you find tools that you can use without being overwhelmed so that you can focus on what you're good at, and that is running your business. I'll include timestamps down below in the description to all the different topics that I talk about in this video, so you can just jump ahead to the part that you're interested in. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing is, what is a domain name? I'm sure you already know what that is. It's what you type into the web browser to find what you're looking for. So if you're going to Facebook, you go to facebook.com. But how does that actually work? Well, in general terms, what happens is there is a database of registrars, and there's all of these different servers all over the world that hold this registration information. So when you type in facebook.com, that registration is going to help you connect that domain name to the actual computer that is holding that website or the server. And there's one more kind of layer in between there that makes it a little bit more complicated. It's not something that you generally need to know about, but sometimes in certain situations it can help to understand this. And that is that the registration goes from the registrar to a domain name server, and the domain name server is what's going to tell your web browser which server to go to. So for example, you might have your email hosted on one server. So a lot of people use something like G Suite or Microsoft 360 Mail. So point all incoming email to your domain name to that server. And then you'd have your website hosted on another server with another company. So that might be something like Wix or Squarespace, or if you have WordPress, you might have a different hosting company for that. And it's going to point that domain name to that website server. So there's a couple little steps happening there, the registration and the website hosting. And what's great about that is that means that you can have your domain registered with one company and have it hosted at another company. Now, just make it a little bit easier when you're setting up your website to have the domain hosted with the same company that's hosting your website, for example. But it does limit the amount of flexibility you have. By hosting it with a separate registrar, if you decide later on that you want to switch which company is hosting your website or which tool you're using to build your website with, you can easily point that domain name to a different service. This is one of the reasons why I like to have my domain name registered with a separate registrar. And at the end of this video, I'll show you how you can register your domain name and what I think is sort of the best and easiest way to get that registration done. Let's talk briefly about what you should think about when you're trying to decide on a domain name. The first thing is I do recommend using a .com domain name, only because it is kind of the most recognizable top-level domain, as they call them. There are lots of other ones. There's .com, there's .art, I think there's .pizza. There's become a whole lot of them. And if you think that your users will understand that other type of top-level domain, like .pizza, for example, I think it's okay to use it. But I think in a lot of cases, people are just so used to .com that that's the first thing that comes to their mind. And so when they're thinking about your business, they're going to look for a .com. So you want to try to pick a .com that works with your business. Second thing is you want to make sure that it's easy to spell and easy to tell other people what it is, so you don't want anything confusing in there. It's definitely not recommended to have a dash in there if you can avoid it. You want to make sure that it's something that you can easily communicate to other people. Next up is if you can put a word in there that helps for your search engine optimization, that might be something that helps your business. I think a great example of this would be if you have something like a plumbing company. Like if I had a plumbing company, I might call it Tim's Plumbing. And that's really easy. It's got plumbing right in there, so it's something that can help search engines identify what the website is about. It's not as crucial, I think, but it's something that can be helpful and can also be a method of finding a domain name for yourself. If you're starting an online business, you want to make sure that you're not using trademarks in that name, unless of course you've already cleared that trademark with the company. You don't want to have your website taken down because you're using somebody else's trademark, so something else to keep in mind. And you also want to make sure that whichever domain name you pick is going to grow with your business. So if you're just doing something right now that's a smaller niche, you want to think about like where you might want your business to be going in the future and make sure that your domain name not only reflects what you're doing right now, but what you might be doing in the future. So that's a little bit about how to choose a domain name. Next up, I'm going to show you how to get a domain name, and it's really easy. The company that I recommend for people to use is called hover.com, and what I've liked about it is I found that the pricing is extremely reasonable and that it's really easy to set up and manage. Everything is very clear and easy to understand, and so when it's time for you to either link your website to, say, your social media profile, if you're going to do that to start out with, or change it from your social media profile to your website hosting company or the company that you built your website on, it's really easy to understand how to do that and to do that. And also with hover.com, it's really easy to set up email. You even have a choice for your email for $5 a year, where you can have an email address forwarded to a regular email address. So if you already have a Gmail address and you're trying to just save as much money as you can right now while you get started, you can just have your professional email. In my example, it would be tim@realwebsitehints.com. I could have that forwarded to an existing free Gmail account that I have. That's a great way to get started and keep costs low. If your business is already more established and you're getting lots of email, you definitely want to pick a email hosting company. Hover does offer email hosting, and so that's an inexpensive way also to get started. For right now, for $20 a year, you can have email up to 10 gigabytes, and for $29 a year, you can have email up to 1 terabyte. And if later on, or even now, if you want to point that email to something else like G Suite for Google's professional email service, or to Microsoft 360, you can do that. And I've also have another recommendation for a company called Zoho, which offers free professional style email for smaller groups. But you have all these different options, and they're all really easy to take advantage of to get email at your own domain. So let's go ahead and dive in and check out how we set up our domain name and how we set up email using Hover. And if you're interested in going ahead and following along and registering your domain name with Hover, definitely check out the link down below. That link helps to support my YouTube channel and my website and all of the tutorials and reviews that I do. So I thank you guys for your support. So let's go ahead and look for a domain name right now. I've already kind of tested this out, looked for a couple domain names. And so the one I'm going to use in this example is GreatBar, and I wanted to have greatbar.com, but that wasn't available. Too simple of a name, I guess. So I'm going to go with GreatBar LA because I live in Los Angeles, so if I had a business called GreatBar, I would probably go with GreatBar LA. So then to register the domain name is really simple. Once you find one that's available, it'll show up here at the top. You can add that to the cart. If for some reason you wanted to add one of these other TLDs like .art or .live, you can do that. I don't think you should do that. Just go ahead and click Add to Cart. And then here the checkout page, really simple. There's not a lot of add-ons that they're trying to throw at you or confuse you with. It's another thing I like about Hover is that they just keep it really simple. They're not trying to trick you. They're just helping you get your domain name and get your business started online. So the one option you do have here, which is free, is the Who Is Privacy. This is something I recommend and I like to use because basically what it is they put out, it's not a dummy corporation, it's a real company out there, but they put that out as the source of the registration for your website. And the reason why I like to do that is because it prevents you from getting a lot of spam, a lot of junk mail at your address, a lot of junk phone calls. Those all go to this company that they've set up to have all these registrations with. And don't worry, if you just change your mind later on, it's really easy to toggle that on or off. For me, I like to just have that toggled on because I just don't like the hassle of people harassing me just because I started a new domain name. And then just head over to the secure checkout, and then you can click Manage Domain. It'll have all of the domains that you have registered. I just have a few domains because I've only been using hover.com for the last few months, but I definitely really like it. It's a great value from what I found so far. And as I said before, super easy to use. To manage this specific domain name, I'm just going to click on it. Now, if you want to connect it directly immediately, you already know that you've got a Shopify store or Squarespace store, or if you have another hosting company, they've got information on how to link that domain name to another hosting company. But if you're just getting started, you might not have those things. So one thing you can do is you can forward this domain. So here I've got my Real Website Hints Facebook account because obviously I don't own a bar called The Great Bar. So I'm just going to link it to that. So I'm going to copy the address from my Facebook page. I'm going to go back to Hover, click paste that into the forwarding here and click Save Forward. So it might not happen immediately, but within about 24 hours or so, it should start taking any requests for greatbarla.com and forwarding it directly to my Facebook page. So again, a great way to get started. Next thing you can do is you can add email. So if you're just getting started, you're trying to keep costs way down, you can do the receive mail only. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to add that in here right now. And then it is $5 for each account that you have, but if you're just getting started, just having one account is probably fine. So I'm going to select one. And now we're just going to set up that email address. So the forward name I'm going to use is just Tim at greatbarla.com, and I'm going to have it forward to my Real Website Hints address. Tim at, there you go, create forward. And so now every time I receive an email from Tim at greatbarla, it's going to automatically forward to my Tim at realwebsitehints.com. So I can give out that email address and be receiving emails from people at that address. Now, if you want to be able to send and receive emails, the easiest way to do that is just sign up for one of their email accounts that they offer. So let's go ahead and look at that. So we're going to click on Buy More here. And if you already know you just want to have an actual email mailbox, don't bother with the forwarding. Just go straight to the Buy More and just get one of the mailbox options that they offer. And again, what I like about this is that the mailbox offerings are so inexpensive. So I'm going to go with a small mailbox, which is $20 a year, a great value. You get 10 gigabytes of storage space, and so if you're just getting started, that should be plenty. And then the big mailbox, you get 1 terabyte for $29 a year, so also a great value. And of course, later on, if you decide you want to use a service like Gmail to host your email, you can do that. You'll be able to move that email account over there. This is a lot cheaper than a G Suite account, for example, or a Microsoft Office 360 account. And it's a great way, again, to just get started really easily. And now to add an address to that, we can create an address. So I'm going to do this one just a little bit different. I'm going to call it info. Of course, you can make it whatever you want. And then you need to create a password so that when you log into your mail, you'll know how to log into it. And then to log into your email, just click down here at the bottom and go to webmail. And the address to log in normally, if you were just logging into your email only, would be mail.hover.com. Type in your email address, so info@greatbarla.com, and enter in our password. And here we are. This is our email where we can send and receive emails with our new domain name. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Consider visiting realwebsitehints.com for more information on how to build your website. And also consider subscribing to my YouTube channel where I share tips, tutorials, and reviews on the best ways to build great looking websites. Thanks for watching.